the BOOODANCHORME. Yeah, to his WORDBAPTIZED. And his GRACEANCHORME. Yeah, to the LMMB. Yeah.
Welcome back. Thank you, everyone, for joining Baptized and Clueless. We thank you once again for making time for us. Here is your host, Yusuf, with my co-host, Wesley. How you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm doing fine, Yusuf.
Good to hear that, man. Always good to hear that. We're joined here today with a special guest doing his interview, his first time on the podcast. So we want to make sure he feels welcomed. Guy Christie, how have you been, Guy? Tell us how you've been as far as walking with us as Wesley and Yusuf. We've just known you now for a few months, and it's been good knowing you. How have things been?
It's been good. It's been a privilege. It's been an honor and a privilege to be invited and included.
Oh man, of course, definitely. We heard you talk just enough for us to know that you have a story to tell, and we really want to be able to share it with everyone else today. And so I've got to come and ask you, when it came to your early days of walking with God, what was that like for you before you got even baptized?
So I got to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
I was baptized originally in 1999.
Okay.
Wow.
And it doesn't, I got to be honest with you, it doesn't really count. And if I could go into a little bit of an explanation.
Please do.
So I was in high school, and there was a youth group that saw my situation and saw a need, and so invited me out. And I kind of basically got baptized for them. Like I went through the motions.
Yeah.
But it's like God was never in my heart.
Okay.
So I was still living a life of sin. I was still doing everything that I would normally do. I wasn't praying. I wasn't reading. I wasn't walking. I had just been basically dunked in the water for somebody else's benefit. So I got rebaptized and actually accepted Christ into my heart back in 2015.
So can I ask you this? When you did get baptized in 2015, was that easier because you knew what the process was, so you weren't intimidated by it or anything?
Well, see, that's what I mean. Like, I'm going to say no because it was an honest decision at that point.
Right.
Like, I honestly felt like today is the day as soon as I come up out of the water. Yes, I'm forgiven, but now I have a responsibility.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Right, because it's a vow before God.
Yeah.
Like, so not only did I accept it, but there are serious consequences if I walk away from a vow that I've made with God.
Yeah, you're right. You're so right.
So it was much more serious the second time.
So, how old were you, Guy, when you did the whole like, because you said you got baptized in the first time in 1999.
1999.
How old were you?
I would have been a junior.
Okay.
It would have been my junior year.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's 17-ish.
Okay. Do you think the seed was planted though?
I'm going to say yes because I'm going to date myself. I grew up in a very rural community. Okay. Like, my high school graduating class was 42 people.
Oh, wow. That's really
okay.
Rural.
Right. Like, wave at everybody, like, drive your lawnmower down to the corner store. Like, everything that you could think of stereotypical, like my friends drove their tractors to school, like
Wow.
everything that you could think of. Yes, all of that.
Wow.
Okay. So, I used to actually walk from my house to school, and that's actually how I met some of the people in the church that the youth group that had invited me was connected to. Is that, like, people of the other generations have always said it, like, walk to school 5 miles both ways.
Yeah.
It was actually 5 miles in between my hometown and the town where the high school was in.
Oh man.
So I used to walk 5 miles to school. And it was, honestly, this is going to sound really weird, it was by choice,
How so?
because I didn't want to be bullied on the school bus.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So I just left like an hour and a half early and then just made the walk to school.
Wow.
And it was just, it's a very quiet walk.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so I felt, it's going to sound really weird to those that may or may not believe, but I never felt alone
Oh,
the
I believe
entire
that.
time I was walking.
I
Yeah.
believe that. I fully
And
believe that. Mm-hmm.
right. And so, I used to just kind of talk, and at the time I just kind of felt like I was talking to myself, but, I would ask for things,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and there was, there was a closeness, there was a community that I felt, even though I'm by myself. And then it was really weird that, on the days when like the weather turned bad,
Yeah.
a car would drive by and somebody would offer me a ride.
Nice.
So.
And if you understood where I was walking,
Mhm.
cars don't drive
In
by.
that area.
Like it was gravel road. Like there's no, like I specifically took a route that I wouldn't be bothered. But there were just some days where a car would just drive by.
Mm.
Yeah.
And after the first couple of times, it was random. And then it's like one of the guys that lived nearby, I think he just started driving it on a daily basis, just looking for me.
Oh, wow. Maybe God took down his heart as well.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, so he was one of the first ones
Yeah.
that brought me to church.
Okay.
And, cause he didn't push it. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like he
Right.
wasn't one of those to where like as soon as you meet him, it's like, well, have you accepted Jesus Christ as your savior?
Yeah.
He was just kind of like, well, how was school today? And, how are things? And, have you had dinner yet? Just warm and open and inviting.
Mm-hmm.
Just, just being a neighbor.
Right. Right. So it took away any sort of prejudgment you may have about motives or the church itself.
Right.
Were you spoken to about God prior to this time in your life? Was it in your family?
So my father hated Christians.
Really?
Basically, considered any organized religion a cult,
Mm.
and basically did not see a difference between anybody going to church and accepting Jesus Christ and anybody that was, what were the big things at the time? Jim Jones. He
Oh
basically
yeah,
thought the
that's
same
right.
thing
Cult
as,
leader.
right. And because, so I
Not the
grew up,
rapper.
right, not the rapper, but no, I grew up in Illinois,
Yeah.
very close to Carthage and Nauvoo. And so, if you guys are familiar or not, but one of the hotbeds of the Mormon movement back in the day, if you're familiar with the Mormon religion
Yeah.
at all,
Yeah.
basically man was a prophet and so was jailed in Carthage, which was about half an hour from where I lived.
Okay.
So lot of the tourist stuff around Carthage and Nauvoo was very close to where I lived, and so
Mm-hmm.
there were a lot of Mormons and a lot of that going around. But basically, my father didn't see a difference between Christians and Baptists, and basically they were all either Joel Osteen style, like, come to church, give us
Okay.
your money,
Right.
or they were very I'm going to love you to your face, but gossip to you behind your back.
Mm.
We've all met that type of Christian to where it's like, how can I pray for you publicly and tell the world about all
Right.
your sin and bless your heart? And,
Right.
Mm.
so what started happening is that, like, I wanted to start to go and hang out with these people, and he would come up with a reason. It's like, I'm not going to take you. That you're going to have to find a ride, or you're going to have to walk. And it's like, okay.
Wow.
And so they
Mm-hmm.
would come and they would get me, and then they would bring me back home. And he's
Right.
like, well, if you go, then you're going to miss dinner, and we're not going to feed you. And it's like,
Wow.
okay. And so then they would feed me dinner, or they would bring me home to their house for dinner. And he's like, well, I'm not paying them back for any of that. And it's like, they're not asking for anything.
Right.
Yeah.
One excuse after the other, trying to find reasons to not let you go.
Right.
Wow.
And so, like, any excuse that they came up with, then they were like, okay, bet. Like, we got you.
So
Mm-hmm.
what would you describe? What would you describe him?
My father?
Yeah.
My father was a very toxic combination of hurt, damaged, and proud.
Okay.
That's a
Okay.
combo.
Mm.
So, and I didn't realize exactly how he was until I get a chance to really look at his life after he passed.
Okay.
Mm.
I was gonna ask about that.
Because he didn't talk about himself or how he grew up.
Right.
Like, he would tell stories about things, and then, like, once I got of age, my grandmother started to tell me stories, and his sisters started to tell me stories that were nothing like what he told.
Yeah.
Because,
Mm-hmm.
like, him, when he told a story, he was either the hero or the martyr.
Oh wow.
Mm.
There was no in between.
Right.
Either he was doing this great, he was, serving this great injustice, or he was doing whatever, or he had lost on purpose or done this great thing to make this huge sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
You know what I mean? For the greater good.
Mm.
And it was all inside his own mind,
Oh wow.
Mm.
because, like, he was very double-handed. He was
Mm-hmm.
very skilled. Like, I was a Boy Scout from a very young age, and Boy Scouts was a very, very big thing for me. And usually the Boy Scouts were a Christian organization, and we were sponsored by a church, but
Mm-hmm.
it was in name only. Like, we never attended the church,
Right.
and we never really met at the church. They just kind of gave us the name so we could have the charter, and they weren't interested in getting to know us, and we weren't interested in getting to know them.
Wow.
Mm.
And so he was very skilled, but every time he would go and he would do something for someone, it's because he thought he could either get something in return, or basically it was a connection that he could make, that he knew somebody.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so his relationships were always very transactional.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So with your dad being the way he is, did that hold you back from wanting to know about God, or did that actually push you down that road much easier?
It was, I got to be honest, it was a little bit of both,
Mm-hmm.
because um, as it it grew me closer in some ways, because there was a love and a connection that I felt that I couldn't really explain at that time, as young as I was, but also unfortunately, because of my upbringing and my environment and not really understanding,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it also led me in my younger years to be very manipulative.
Mm-hmm.
And so as I found Christians and met with Christians and developed relationships, because of the mindset that I had at the time, I took advantage of a lot of people that I shouldn't have.
Right.
Mm.
Because it's like, well, hey, if you're going to give me things out of love, then I'm going to tell you that I'm, poor and broken and,
Right.
like I very much played the poor sick puppy or the bird with the broken wing, and I would,
Mm-hmm.
put myself in situations to make myself available to be helped or to get a
Right.
free meal
Right.
or,
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
and
Mm.
that's all before
I
baptism, then.
wasn't even ashamed.
Yeah, I can
I
imagine.
wasn't even ashamed.
And that was before baptism?
It was after the first baptism, before the second baptism,
Second
because
baptism, yeah. No, I get that.
right, so I graduated high school
Yeah.
and I joined the Marine Corps
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
right out of high school. And so that's the thing. When you give a 19-year-old child
Mm-hmm.
a paycheck, a steady paycheck,
Mm-hmm.
and you take care of all of their needs as far as their room and board and their expenses,
Yeah.
that is just a free ticket to sin.
Yeah. Idle-handed money.
Yeah.
Right. That is the devil's playground.
Mm.
I was manipulated by the enemy, and that's sort of like that's why why it was so heavy for me when I actually got baptized,
Mm-hmm.
because I was around people that were like, they would give their testimonies, and it's like, well, I grew up in church and I did this and I did that, and it's like, wow, that's great. That is such a PG-13 testimony.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
I was the one. It's like, I shouldn't be allowed in this building. If you knew what I've done,
Mm.
like, it's like, I expected to be stopped by the greeters. It's like, wait. You can't come in. Oh, no, that's right. You're right. I can't come in. That's fine. Like, I would be the one. It's like,
Right.
I'll get to the gates, and it's like, you can't come in, right? And it's like, no, that's fair. Weeping and gnashing of teeth. I get it. I earned it. Like, that's
Right.
fair.
Right.
Like, the saving didn't make sense to me at first.
Right. You're in the beginning stages, so how could you
Mhm.
understand such love, right?
Yeah.
Such
Right.
salvation.
Like, so that's what I mean. Like, it takes me longer to think of a sin that I haven't committed.
Mm.
Wow. Wow.
Join the club.
Like,
Yeah.
right, exactly. Like, I've done them all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, that's what I mean. Like, I still get convicted. Like, there are still sermons about how you're doing this and that's what brought me to TC.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because when he convicts people, you know what I mean? Like, he'll look straight into that camera, and it's like, I love you, Pastor, but get out my living room. Like,
Yep.
you all up in my business.
Oh, Mike Todd.
Because Pastor Todd, Pastor Charles, I mean, they
Mm-hmm.
all do it.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
Yeah.
that was the great thing about. So, I got to be honest. When you invited me to do this initially,
Yeah.
um, this is my first podcast, so I wasn't really sure how to act.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I very quickly became a very big fan of this show.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
With some of
That's
the
good
other
to hear.
with some of the other episodes.
Yeah.
And so a couple of the other testimonies, they were talking about COVID and how the world shut down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well,
Mhm.
I work in logistics. So my world went into nitro.
Mm.
I worked every single day of that pandemic
Phew.
Wow.
and was issued a piece of paper by the state government or Department of Transportation or wherever it was. Basically, gave me free permission to be on the road whenever I needed to be on the road that I was supposed to carry in my vehicle at all times.
Sounds like a
Wow.
movie. Jeez.
So that pandemic turned my world upside down. But at the same time, since we couldn't go to physical church, it was my
Right.
wife that had found Pastor Todd
Okay.
and opened my eyes to online church.
Same here.
And so since then, not only have I found TC, but Pastor Jerry Flowers and, Tim Ross
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
Keon Henderson and all of these, just wonderful men of God that I never would have found
Yeah.
without it.
God definitely used the pandemic to bring a lot of people back home, or at least back on the path.
Right?
I think everyone in our groups have a similar story. 99, no, 99, hear me. 2000 and 2019, 2020.
Yeah.
A lot of people got online and started
Mhm.
seeing Transformation Church. And everyone's got a service that really convicted them to start watching more.
Mhm.
Yeah, mine was marked.
Yours is
I started
marked?
with marked. Yeah.
Yeah. Mine was tithing and about the other
Uh-huh.
15 that came afterwards.
And mine's was relationship goals.
Relationship goals. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So seeing that you've had the walk where pretty much you're living life and trying to find your way at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to the church that you got baptized at, it sounds like the people took time to get to know you and to care for you and to show you biblical Christian love as opposed to what we do in society. Did that dispel a lot of stuff that your dad was saying?
Which church are you referring to? The first baptism or the second
No,
baptism?
the first baptism is out the window for me. Second baptism.
Okay, so the second baptism, the home church that I'm currently at, that I got baptized at,
Mm-hmm.
we found that church because that is currently the best church in the area for special needs.
Okay.
My son has an autism diagnosis.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay.
And so basically they have a children's program that is sensitive to children with special needs. And that was
Wow.
kind of the reason that we got into the church, because it was one of the only churches in the area where we could literally drop him off
Right.
and he would be cared for and we could actually attend a service.
Mm.
Can we just talk about this for just a minute? Why churches miss the simplicity of things that they're meant to do. Like
Mm.
creating a space like that so
Yeah.
that parents can actually get to not worry while they go ahead and sit in God's house.
Mm-hmm.
Like the amount of love we're supposed to show people, and sometimes these churches don't get it right at all because they're so focused on what's in the tithing plate. What are they going to try and what grandeur thing they're going to try and build a name on? Is it a bigger building? Is it more parking space? Is it this? Is it another balcony? But like something as simple as creating a space for people with kids with special needs, like you don't hear these things happening in church.
Yeah.
That's
Mm-hmm.
amazing. I'm glad that you got to find that space and it was right in your area. That's not by chance.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
definitely by
For
God.
real.
Okay, well, I know that we love to talk about generational curses.
Mm-hmm.
I know that we love to talk about just the awesome, just miraculous power of God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My son is currently 13 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Back when he was in 5th grade, because of his autism and because of the awesome power that God has given him that I cannot understand or take credit for,
Mm-hmm.
he gave a 7.5-minute sermon on Jonah to
What?
his class.
What?
What? Wow.
What? Wow.
My son preaches.
Wow.
Preaches as in he still does.
No, seriously, if you ask him to tell you about Joseph,
Yeah.
be prepared for the last third of Genesis.
Wow.
Oh man.
What are you
Like,
saying?
like the whole, like I can't, like I said, I can't even take credit for it. It's not even me trying to be a good parent. It's
No,
not
no,
even,
that's
it's
God.
so far beyond a proud dad moment because it's
Mm-hmm.
who he is. It has nothing to do with me as a man.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
has everything to do with what God has put into him.
He'll put us to
But
Definitely.
shame.
he will, like, seriously, like, just from memory, he will just start and, like, from the jealousy to the stalks of grain to the hole in the ground to being sold to Potiphar's wife, all the way
Wow.
through to the money, like, the whole thing, and he will just rip it.
Wow.
Mm.
And I take it he's
Like,
retained these stories from Sunday school through the special needs
so
part of the church, right?
that was, like I said, like, he was quiet. He was nonverbal until he was right around 3.
Oh
Mm.
I want
wow.
to say two and a half, 3. He was
Yeah.
basically nonverbal. We had been really fortunate when we had gotten the diagnosis super early,
Mm-hmm.
and so basically when we found the church, they would just let him sit in the class, and
Right.
they wouldn't really bother him. They would just make sure that he wasn't overstimulated. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because some of the kids have sensory issues,
Mm-hmm.
so they were
Mm.
just really supportive, and they would just take him and then they just would just kind of let him sit. They wouldn't make him participate. He would just kind of sit and listen. And my wife has a video where she had just randomly asked him about some random memory verse.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I don't remember if she was looking for a specific one or not, but he rips off in this video like 5, 6 verses just right in a row,
Wow.
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 That's
like
amazing.
at 3.
Non-verbal to that.
Mm.
Right. And that's what I mean. Like,
Wow.
and cause like we went in and we're like, cause she took the, like, she was about ready to like stop recording and then he just starts in again and he just goes and he goes and he goes. And then we just bring it back into the youth pastor and like, I don't know what you guys have been doing, but like, look at this. Like, he's caught on to absolutely everything.
Yeah,
Everything.
exactly.
Wow. That must have
Like,
made
he
them
just,
feel really good to know that he's actually he's able to absorb all this information
Yeah.
and to the
right.
details.
Yeah.
Mm.
He's also detailed.
Definitely. That's the thing about autism. The spectrum is so wide.
Yeah.
It's so
Mm.
wide. I have a nephew who's on the spectrum, and he can tell you what day it is based on the date.
Hmm.
Mm.
He's only 9, going on 10. He's
Mm.
telling you days and dates based on the mathematical calculations. He can tell you the day and date back in like 1945, May 5th. He'll tell you what day it was.
Oh wow.
So,
Right.
yeah.
There's some of these kids that have these savant qualities
Hmm.
Hmm.
that just, it's only God.
Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah. So, guy, s- like, so for when you heard about Pastor Mike's Pastor Mike's son having autism as well, how did that make you feel at that time?
Well, I mean, it was a connection. You know what I mean? Like, it's
Mhm.
another one of those things to where, like, I got to be honest. This is a side note.
Mhm.
Like, I love my church. I have fallen asleep in my church.
Hmm.
Mm. Yeah.
Okay, like it's a great church,
Yeah.
but it is a very Midwestern, very
Mellow.
PG-13 message.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the thing that I like about TC is that they get hot and
Yeah,
they
Yeah.
they
do it all
do.
the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's what we need as Christians. It's about, bringing it into the light.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so the fact that he is so open and honest about his son and his diagnosis, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mhm.
That.
Because it is a miracle. It absolutely is. He understands it for what it is.
Yeah.
There are other preachers that, if they have this or they had that, or if their daughters, whatever, that they would just kind of, the
Hide it.
kids would be the kids and he would be on the pulpit. And it's like, no, no, no,
Yeah.
bring,
Yeah.
bring everything out. Like,
Mhm.
Yeah.
this
He's
is
like that.
all of me.
Yeah.
You
I
know what I
gotta be
mean?
honest. He's made his vulnerability and transparency has made me feel more comfortable being vulnerable and transparent. Same thing with Tim Ross.
Exactly.
And the
Exactly.
same thing with Pastor Charles.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
I love Pastor Todd. You know
I
what I
don't
mean?
think Pastor Charles can help himself.
But that's what
He's
I love
definitely going to
about
be
it.
transparent.
That's what I love about it. Like,
Yeah.
like Pastor Todd is everything that a lead pastor could be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
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 Like, he is strong and he is independent and he has vision and he's got that riz. He
Yeah.
absolutely does.
Yeah.
But Pastor Charles to me is very much, and I you know what I mean? Like, I lean further towards, because Pastor Charles, like, I don't know a better way to say this because I don't want to disrespect the man, but it's like there are some times where he gets going. It's like it's like the first time he's ever had a microphone in his hand. Like, like there's he is just so open. It's like there's absolutely no
Yeah.
filter.
Yeah.
Like, he
Yeah.
just absolutely spits what is currently in his head at that moment.
It's true.
Like, it is so raw. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And how honest and how open he was when, like, he was considering, like, ending his life, and how
Yeah.
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
fought
Yeah.
through
Yeah.
that. Like,
Mhm.
that's the part that I identified with.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I got
Because
to
there were
meet him.
so many times
Hmm.
that I had convinced myself that the world was going to be better once I wasn't in it.
That's a lie.
Mhm.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like, I was like, because when I was in high school, back before the first baptism,
Hmm.
I figured, like, I'll get 15, 16 good years and I'll do a couple of things and then that's it. Like, I don't even need to be an adult. Like, I don't have a future. Like,
Mhm.
there's nothing for me. I'm
Yeah.
not going to be able to go to college. Like, there's no reason for me to keep growing and keep growing up if, my life is already over. So it might as well just be over. You know what I mean?
Oh, wow.
Like, but I had convinced myself. It's like,
Hmm.
people will cry and they'll do the whole thing and, somebody might even fall over my casket. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
But it's like 6 months after that, like, the world will have completely moved
Over.
on.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then for God to see me through it, even despite myself,
Yeah.
and to bless me with this next generation that is so far beyond what I could have ever imagined.
He still had plans for
You
you.
know,
He still had plans for you.
right?
Yeah.
But how
Man,
long? That's literally, like, it took almost 40 years for it to. But that's what I mean. It's all about God's timing.
Yep.
always about God's timing.
Yep. Mhm.
It's one of the hardest lessons to
It
be patient
is.
with in his time, but it's
It
always
is.
justifiable. It always works out the way it's supposed to. And you usually get to see the fruits of it afterwards, but you got to be patient to see it.
Mhm.
Right.
Mhm. Yeah.
Wow. You know, everyone's life is so different, but you can hear everyone having to go through these hurdles. But for those who get to know of God sooner than later, you don't go through the hurdles alone.
Mhm.
And something
Yeah.
that you were saying earlier, Guy, in the beginning of your story or your testimony, of just it's like you were talking to yourself, so you assumed, but yesterday you're asking for things, and God knows your heart. And of
Hmm.
course, you have to accept Jesus Christ to be saved. So there's no doubt or question about that. But He knows your heart.
Mhm.
Sent people by to make sure you got there safely. Like, based on who your dad is, and this is not a knock on your dad, but just based on who your dad is, you could have walked a completely different path
Yeah. Yeah.
for the next 40 years.
Mhm.
And it's like you had a glimmer. I'm trying to figure out when this glimmer gets planted in you, because to find the peace in walking alone, and I mean, you could be thinking about anything, but it sounds as though you were being heard every time that you were walking
Hmm.
alone, and you actually were not alone, as I'm sure you know now.
Mhm.
Right.
But this is the amazing thing about God. Like, He meets us where we are. God didn't
But
show
Yeah.
up once you got saved properly.
Right.
baptized
While
properly.
we were still
Yeah,
sinners, God loved us.
exactly.
Yes.
While we were still sinners,
Mm-hmm.
God
Mm-hmm.
loved us.
Mm-hmm.
He is so good.
Yes, he is. Yes.
He is so good. If you had to give any, I don't know, any words of comfort, advice, or direction for anyone who's contemplated about being baptized, would you have anything that you'd like to share with them?
I mean, it's worth it. Like
Mm-hmm.
every day. Like that's the point, is that it doesn't matter what you've done up until, you know what I mean? It doesn't
Yeah.
matter what you've done up until the minute you step up to the pool or even get into the water.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? As
Mm-hmm.
long as your heart is correct, as long as you are ready to make the decision.
Right.
And even if you've been saved and haven't been baptized yet,
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? Like we're still gonna, but it's about like, cause I'm all about people getting saved. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, yes, confess, but even some people may fall from there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Still gonna
But
trip and
but
stumble.
I feel like once you like the baptism seals it, in my
Mm-hmm.
opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
once you are actually baptized, then I feel like it should change you.
Yeah.
Like
Mm-hmm.
it will change you. If you've truly accepted God into your heart when you say the words, once you come up, you are a completely new creation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not. It's not.
Eh,
It's not. It's symbolic, but it's not empty. It's for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That like one of the pastors used to say, um, the water's just water,
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-mm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the act itself
Mm-hmm.
is just the act. It's just, death, burial, and resurrection.
Yeah.
It's the oath. It's the vow you take with God. It's the
Mm-hmm.
words that you say.
Yeah.
It's your
Yeah.
heart posture.
Yeah.
Like that is the vow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like that is the vow that you honor. So if you're true about it when you say it, like you can be saved, but I feel like when you get baptized, like come with all of your stuff. But when you get baptized, that's when you can heal,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because that's what Pastor Mike always says. It's like you don't have to be correct
No,
when you
never.
make the
That's
vow.
yeah. That's a
Right.
fact.
Like come with all your mess.
Mm-hmm.
God will clean you up.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
And that's why he tells us not to be alone, because we clean each other up.
Mm-hmm. He works through other
Like
people
here,
to get through to you.
right. Like here we are, all three of us. We've been saved and baptized, and we're
Mm-hmm.
walking with, the Holy Spirit within us.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're still making mistakes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
We
What
still need accountability.
what day is it this
Yep.
week? Yeah, we're making mistakes all week, and
Right.
it's only Tuesday.
Like you guys, I still got to sit up here and tell myself,
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. But that's when you get set free. It's like
Yes.
these are things we wouldn't be able to say. At least I know I would be able to say 10 years ago.
Oh yeah, the same
Oh
here.
gosh, no. Oh gosh,
Accountability.
no.
Don't talk to me about that. Telling myself, don't talk about that. It's like, yeah, it's he changes our hearts, and that changes a lot of things around us. How we deal with people, how we deal with ourselves, how we see sin, how we're able to see sin, have better discernment. Like he just works with us. With all the chaos around us, he starts with us first and foremost.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's what makes our walk with him so special, because it's uniquely for us. He could be doing the same thing in Wesley, he could be doing the same thing in you guy as he's doing in me. But the
Yeah.
Hmm.
timing, the how, the when, it's like that makes it unique for everybody, but he's doing it all in the same level, the same amount of love for each and every person, and nobody else can do that.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And that's why we always have to hold our relationship with him so dear, because it's the truest form of relationship we'll have. I mean, we both have kids, and as much as we love our kids so much, we give our life for our kids. it's not even in comparison to the love that God has for us.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, we can all lay our life down to save our kid. For a stranger, not so much. For strangers who hate me, not at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's exactly what he did. It's like, the more you remember what he's done, the more it's supposed to keep you in line, because it's not something we should take for granted, but I don't think anyone in this room has. So that's a beautiful thing to know that we've all been transformed because of him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as well, you're married. Did your wife get baptized in the same church, or did she get baptized prior to that?
So she got baptized. Well, okay. So she got baptized in her home church
Mm-hmm.
as a child because she grew up in church.
Okay.
Okay.
So, gosh, that's a whole other story about how me and my wife met. But
Part two.
so she grew up in church. Um, her father was actually a deacon at one point in that church.
Okay.
So she's been thoroughly raised in the church, knows the gospel,
Mm-hmm.
always been convicted. She got rebaptized because the church required baptism for membership. They required baptism by immersion for membership to the church.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Never heard of that before, but okay.
So, but she also has gotten rebaptized recently because she felt like, because the first time she got baptized, she like did it with her friends because that was expected of her at the time.
Right.
She felt like she got baptized when I got baptized in 2015 because that's what the church required. And of course she already had Jesus in her heart,
Right.
but like she always wanted to like be baptized because she wanted to be baptized.
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah.
what we're supposed to want in the first place. So I'm glad she
Right.
got to
And so
find
it's
that though.
like, so when I got baptized, like because I accepted Jesus into my heart and because I was serious about my decision,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that counted. I mean, I also did it because the church asked me to, but it's like I didn't do it like immediately when the church asked me to. Like I talked about it and I wrestled and I made the decision when I was ready.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So
It's no different than an altar call. If they call it out and you feel convicted to, then you'll do it. But if you don't, you'll sit right there.
right, and so that's what I mean. So my wife has been baptized because she wanted to be baptized, and
Right.
so that happened very, very recently because she wanted to make sure that was she kept it very private.
Mm-hmm.
She just like went and like did it. Like it wasn't like during service or anything. Like I wasn't even there.
Yeah, that was definitely for her.
Wow.
Like
Definitely
she wanted to make it very personal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like between her and God.
Mm-hmm.
And she asked me if I was okay with it. And I was like, I absolutely want to respect your walk with God.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You know?
Well, that's healthy. That's healthy that you guys have that communication because it's so needed in this world. That's good.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, Guy, I want to thank you for sharing your story with us such in
Yes.
depth.
Thank you.
And, every time we do these interviews, I get to know those around us that much more.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate you giving us so much, man. That was really good.
Yes.
Yeah, I really appreciate you asking me. I'm honored.
Most definitely. Most definitely.
Mm-hmm.
From time to time, we do topics on the show, so I'll make sure I keep you in mind for that. And
Yeah.
I look forward to the next time we get to speak again on this platform. But you
Oh,
take
absolutely.
care, man. You take care, and then God bless, and we'll talk again really soon.
Yes. We'll talk again.
All right. See you guys.